Parallel lines are very easy to talk about. Here are two lines. And of course, to be parallel means they never meet. In terms of slope, what that means is you notice that the lines are going the same direction and they have the same steepness. Slope tells us about direction and steepness. So for two lines to be parallel, they have to have exactly the same slope. Perpendicular is a little bit harder to see, so you're just going to take this on faith from me. Here's one line, and here's another line. And of course, to be perpendicular means that they meet at a right angle. Well, what you can definitely see is the black line has a positive slope because it's increasing, while the red line has to have a negative slope because it's decreasing. So for two lines to be perpendicular, assuming they're not horizontal or vertical, what has to happen, if the slope of this black line is, say, 2/3, then the slope of the red line has to be what we call the negative reciprocal. Negative means, since the black one was a positive 2/3, this one's going to be negative, and reciprocal means flip it over. Alright, so that's how you're going to tell if lines are perpendicular. You're going to look at their slopes. One of them will be positive, one of them will be negative, and then they'll be flipped over. One will be a 2/3, one will be a 3/2, or whatever the numbers might be. Okay, so the typical question you're going to be given is, you're going to be given two equations. Y equals 3/4 x plus 2, and maybe 3x plus 4y equals 8. And the question will be, are those lines parallel? Are those lines perpendicular? Are those lines neither? Well, we look for the slopes. The first line is very easy. This is in our y equals mx plus b form. So we can see right away, without having to do any work, that the slope of this first line is 3/4. Second line, we've got to do a little work. What we've got to do is take this equation and get the y all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. So that's 4y equals minus 3x plus 8. Divide by the 4. Make sure you do it everywhere. Y equals minus 3/4 x plus 2. So for this line, now it's in y equals mx plus b, we see the slope is negative 3/4. So, are these lines parallel? No, they are not parallel, because that slope and that slope are not exactly the same, so they're not parallel. Are they perpendicular? No, they're not perpendicular either. Well, the first one is positive and the second one is negative. We did not get the reciprocal. So this would be an example of neither. Alright, so let me do one more, give you an example of this happen. How about we had y equals 2x minus 5, and got to think a little bit to make this work. 4x, I meant to write an x there. 4x plus 8y equals 16. Alright, once again, we look at our slopes. This one's very easy. It's in y equals mx plus b form. Its slope is 2. Second one, we got to do some work. Subtract the 4x on both sides. 8y minus 4x equals minus 4x plus 16. Divide by the 8. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. So for this one, we see the slope is negative 1/2. Alright, so if we think of 2 as being 2 over 1, we can see that here we have 2 over 1, here we have negative a half, so one of them is positive, one of them is negative. And then we can also see that if I take this one, 2 over 1, and I flip it over, I take the reciprocal, I get 1 over half, 1 over 2. These two are perpendicular. So our answer here would be perpendicular. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have more questions.